Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with the best 2-for-1 deal you'll find on the internet. Today we're not only having an in-depth analysis of the brand new gameplay coming from Game Informer for the Outer Worlds, but we're also talking about how long you're going to be playing the game because we have a rough estimate of an hour count for a single playthrough, which is pretty hype. So let's start off with the in-depth analysis, diving into the first shot in the gameplay, which I will have linked in the description down below, which is our player holding what seems to be a brand new melee weapon that looks like a shovel to me personally. But what stuck out to me more is on the top right corner, the quest objective, which says turn in the cache of Adrenatime. Now when I saw that name Adrenatime, it got me thinking about the time dilation that is in this game, and I wonder if these two are connected and this is the quest where we learn how to use time dilation, or maybe we start off the game with it. Just some speculation, but it's something I noticed. In the next room, as a marauder spots us, I noticed right away that there's actually a little icon above his head showing that he has detected us. And the reason we know this is because later in the gameplay, you can actually see before the enemy spots you, that little cone starts to fill. And once it's all the way full, that's going to let you know you've been detected. And I found this great because there is a lot of stealth focus apparently if you want to play that way in the Outer Worlds. And having little pieces of HUD like this is great not only for folks who are trying to stealth, but also if there is a mode with zero HUD, it's going to be really cool to see how the stealth works when you strip that UI away. Upon striking said marauder, who was just innocently trying to defend his post, I noticed that there were some damage numbers. It's not too surprising to find this in an RPG. It's very common nowadays because even though we've seen this in previous gameplay videos, I'm almost 100% sure I never mentioned it once, so I felt better to be safe than sorry. Then we shift into our first shot of a nice open area in the Outer Worlds, and I think this is how you can expect locations to play out throughout the game. As you notice, there are multiple avenues, but there is rocks kind of keeping things a little closed off. So there's open areas to explore, like up ahead there's going to be a building we can enter, but for the most part it's keeping us on a path, and I would say it's fairly linear. They're hub areas, once again akin to a KOTOR 2. Personally, I love this style of level design. I know not everybody is a fan of it, but this is something that you can expect to see over and over, this style of level. Afterwards, we see Parvati straight up stepping in and dropping the hammer on this poor marauder. I mean, these guys are getting absolutely torched out here. This one's about to get smacked right in the skull with a hammer and get finished off. Now, what I noticed about this is in a write-up from Game Informer, they did mention that there was a special ability for Parvati where she uses a hammer and slams the enemies overhead. And this is a part of also the leader ability, because you can tell her when to do these types of abilities versus when you're not a leader and they just sort of do it on their own. What's also cool to notice is that the camera focuses on the companion for a little bit. The animations look solid, and that's something I'm a big fan of, because we also see ones that I thought were a bit lackluster, like earlier when we saw Ellie, for example, shoot a what looked to be electric pistol, which was supposed to be some type of special shot for her, and it didn't look all that cinematic, unlike this where it seems like a truly special move and we can see it fully playing out. After she lands this hit, you see multiple times throughout this video that some HUD pops up over the marauder's body. Now I think the down arrow means they're downed, but they're not dead, because afterwards the character will shoot the body and then he will be fully dead. But I also wonder if this pink symbol means that he's been debuffed of some way, shape, or form. Maybe if this hammer attack from Parvati does not kill the enemy right away, this is some form of debuff that removes some type of stats from the enemy. Moving a little bit deeper into the gameplay, another little detail I noticed is on the HUD we can see that major quest objectives are marked with a green on the quest bar. We already saw on the little waypoint markers that that'll always be there in that golden kind of color, but the green seems to signify the quest you currently have highlighted. To me, I always find video game loot interesting because sometimes they'll have a screw, some pocket change, and some random book on them, nothing that they were actually carrying when they were fighting you. So I was happy to find out that when you take out a marauder goon, he drops some ammo, he drops the weapon he was using, a sentry saber, and he does have some chicken and potatoes on him, because why the hell not? Why can't the marauder goon have some chicken and potatoes, huh? You got a problem with that? Too bad. Anyway, that's just an interesting little tidbit for me personally. I like when an enemy that you take down drops their weapon and you can take their weapon. I don't know about you guys, but it's a huge pet peeve of mine in RPGs where you take out an enemy and they don't drop their weapon. It's like, where'd it go? Did it disintegrate into the ground? Come on. I also want to put a focus on some of the UI when your character aims down their sights. Now you can see currently we're shooting a Marauder Thug, and it looks like a simple iron sight with a dot in the middle to highlight where our aim is going to be. But when we aim ever so slightly to the right of this other Marauder, we can see a red circle forms around said dot. Now why is that? Well, after this person takes a shot, when we have this red circle, there's a giant explosion. So I believe the HUD actually changes when you shoot a explosive barrel or something that can cause environmental damage. Because for the rest of the gameplay, it's always that same sight that we were looking at in this earlier picture. Outside of that though, this is the only time this happens. So I believe it has to do with shooting explosive barrels, for example. Last is there's this scrap mechanical, which looks like some type of huge mech that you can get in. And actually when the player walks by it, it does not become hostile. So I wonder if this is something that you can use in combat or something that you can hire to aid you, or is it just patrolling the facility? Maybe our character hacked a terminal and now all scrap mechanicals are friendly. I do wonder why this is the one enemy that doesn't attack. And maybe people think we're in a friendly area, but in the next part of the gameplay, just seconds later, you turn into the hallway and there's an enemy ready to attack you. So something seems up about this, and I do wonder what's happening with said scrap mechanical. Anyway, that's all I've got for the quick gameplay analysis. Like I said, nothing really major in terms of detail, but still enough to pick out to justify a video on it. Let's also talk about the hour count for the Outer Worlds. It was confirmed in an interview with Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky when they were managing expectations and talking about how they wanted to sort of dumb down the hype and have people be excited for the right reasons for this game, that this isn't some type of endless gameplay project, and that it's not going to be this humongous game, but more so a condensed experience that is designed to be replayable. And when asked if 15 to 40 hours is about the right range that they could expect to finish the game in, they did answer yes. So if you are planning to play the Outer Worlds, do know that the maximum amount of hours you are going to get out of one playthrough seems to be, according to Obsidian, 40 hours. To me, that's not bad. Now, I know some in the comments have said multiple times, wow, about 30 hours for this game, 40 hours for this game, that's way too short, I'm gonna go spend my money elsewhere. But the perspective I have is that you have one playthrough being 30 hours, sure. Then you go back a second time. So yes, while this game isn't that endless replay value of fetch quests that a lot of people really like, you can get 2 different playthroughs and in turn 60 to 80 hours out of this product if you just replay the game. And especially when this game features new play styles, like for example the leader skill, where you can tell your companions what to do when you want, or you can make a stealth build, or you can make an aggressive build, a guns build, a melee weapons build. You can be an idiot, you can be mean, you can be nice, you can do all these things in this game. It makes replaying it very fun, where I feel like, yes, we're gonna have a shorter experience. That makes sense. You can't have a 90-hour game on top of all that choice and consequence. There has to be sacrifices somewhere, and I think they're doing it in the right place. Games don't have to be endless. I say this time and time again. I remember with The Witcher 3, for example, there was a conversation I had with my viewers about whether or not they like when a game ends. For me, I feel closure. I feel happy that I beat a game. I feel a sense of completion inside me when I beat a game, and that I know the story is done. But a lot of these games nowadays go for endless content, endless gameplay. Like when you're buying into this product, you're getting years of service, which is great. And I do want the Outer Worlds to, for example, have DLC, but I also am happy to know that Outer Worlds will be something that most of us can pick up, play, and beat. There's so many games that are left unbeaten for folks because they're like 90-hour forays, and there's always a place for them. But I also think there is a void for these style of games. So I'm happy to hear that around 40 hours or less is how long it'll take for us to beat the Outer Worlds. I think for folks who are very thorough, we are going to scratch that 40-hour mark, but for most of us who are just coasting through, doing some side quests, doing some main story stuff, I'd say expect 30 hours, but that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, that's all the information I had for you today on the Outer Worlds. I hope you enjoyed this brand new information and analysis of the gameplay. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.